The morning of my brother's rehearsal dinner, I spent nearly an hour helping my daughter Lily decide which barrettes to wear in her hair. She had narrowed it down to 2 pairs and was treating the decision with the seriousness only a 6-year-old can bring to something beautiful. Tiny white daisies in one hand, little silver stars in the other. She stood in front of the bathroom mirror, chin lifted, studying herself like the fate of the evening depended on getting it right. She was the flower girl. She had known that for 4 months. For 4 months, she had practiced walking slowly down the hallway of our apartment with all the solemn concentration of someone preparing for an actual performance. She would start at the front door, hold an invisible basket in both hands, and walk with deliberate little steps to the end of the hall. Then she would turn around and do it again. So many times that there was a faint scuff mark along the baseboard where she always pivoted. In the end, she chose the daisies. I told her they were perfect, and she smiled at me with that complete trust children still have before life gives them reason to ration it. My husband Colin was loading the car while I finished getting dressed. He was the kind of man who made things lighter without making a show of it. He had ironed his shirt the night before, lined Lily's shoes up by the door, and bought a card for my brother Evan and his fiancée Claire without needing to be asked. While I stood in the kitchen wondering for the 3rd time whether I should have brought some kind of hostess gift to a dinner I had already helped organize, Colin came up behind me, rested his hand at the small of my back, and said, "You've already done enough. Let's go." The venue was a lakeside inn, about 40 minutes away. White columns, trimmed hedges, old trees, the kind of quiet, expensive place that makes people instinctively lower their voices when they step inside. Lily pressed her face to the window almost the whole drive. "Is Uncle Evan going to be happy when he sees me?" she asked. "Very happy." "Is he going to notice my barrettes?" Definitely the barrettes. That satisfied her. I watched her in the rearview mirror, small and composed and glowing, with that simple excitement children have when they think something good is waiting for them. She didn't know anything complicated. She just knew she had a job, she had practiced for it, and tonight was the night. My phone buzzed just as Colin turned into the parking area. A text from my mother. "Can you come to the garden entrance before you come in? I need to talk to you first. Don't bring Lily yet. Have Colin stay with her." I read it once, then again. Colin glanced over. "Everything okay?" "My mom wants to talk to me outside first. Alone." He gave me that careful look he saves for things that don't make sense. "Okay." I told Lily I was going to say hello to Grandma and I'd be right back, and that she should stay with Daddy and show him the daisies again because he hadn't admired them properly yet. That was enough to occupy her completely. I walked around the side of the inn to the garden entrance, where a stone path curved between rose bushes, just starting to bloom. My mother was waiting beside an iron bench in the blue dress she had bought for the weekend, her hands clasped in front of her, in that particular way she has when she thinks she's keeping a situation under control. "What's going on?" I asked. She let out a breath. "I wanted to tell you before you walked in so it wouldn't catch you off guard." My stomach tightened. She looked past me toward the parking area, making sure Colin and Lily were still out of sight. "Claire's younger sister has a little girl," she said. "And Claire asked a few weeks ago if she could be the flower girl instead, since she's part of her side of the family. She thought it would feel more cohesive." I just stared at her. "Mom," I said finally, very flat, "Lily has been practicing for 4 months." "I know. She's wearing the dress. She picked out the barrettes. She has talked about this every day for months." "I know, sweetheart. I'm sorry. I should have called sooner. Evan should have called sooner. It was awkward and it kept getting pushed back." "And she's 6. Something was tightening in my chest so fast it felt almost physical. "She is 6 years old," I said, "and she practiced walking slowly down a hallway for 4 months so she wouldn't mess this up." My mother gave me a look that wasn't guilt. It was worse than guilt. It was the calm expression of someone who had already accepted the choice and now needed me to accept it too. "It's Claire's wedding," she said. "It's her day. She wants the wedding party to feel like her family." Her family. As if Lily wasn't my brother's family. As if I wasn't. "And we're what exactly?" I asked. Her tone changed. Not kinder, firmer. I need you to be gracious about this. Evan is stressed. Claire is stressed. Tonight needs to go smoothly. The last thing anyone needs is what? She held my gaze. You making this harder than it needs to be. For a second, I just stood there among the rose bushes with the sound of soft music drifting from inside and tried to breathe without shaking. Then I said, okay. She relaxed a little too quickly. I just need a minute, I said. I'll come in on my own. She nodded and went back through the garden door. I stayed there alone for another moment, staring at the lake, catching the last of the evening light, thinking about Lily in the parking lot with her daisy barrettes and her carefully practiced little walk. I pressed my hand against my sternum and took one full breath in, one full breath out. Then I went back around the building. Colin was crouched beside Lily, both of them bent over the gravel as if they were investigating a crime scene. When they heard me, they looked up. Colin read my face in a heartbeat. Lil, he said lightly, how many white rocks do you think are right here? I bet there are at least 10. She immediately got to work counting. He stepped toward me and lowered his voice. What happened? They replaced her. Even saying it felt unreal. Claire's niece is the flower girl now. They decided weeks ago and never told us. Colin went very still. How do you want to handle it? He asked. I looked at Lily, who had just found her 6th white rock and was announcing each one like a major victory. I have to tell her, I said. And after that, I don't know. I don't know if I can sit in there tonight. You don't have to decide all of it right now. I crouched beside Lily. She held up another pale stone for inspection. That's a very good one, I said. It's extremely white, she agreed. I took both her hands in mine. Hey, Bug, I need to tell you something. It's a little sad, but we're going to be okay. She looked at me carefully. Lily has always had that look when she senses something is important. 6 years old and already trying to read adult weather. Okay, she said. The flower girl job changed a little bit. Another little girl is going to carry the basket at Uncle Evan's wedding. She blinked once. Then she asked, did I do it wrong? The walking? My throat closed so fast it hurt. No, I said. No, sweetheart, you did it perfectly. This has nothing to do with your walking, or you. They just decided they wanted someone from Claire's side of the family to do it. She thought about that. So I don't get to carry the basket. Not this time. She looked down at her shoes. The tiny daisy barrettes caught the fading light. Can I still go to the party? Yes. Can I still wear the dress? Absolutely. She nodded once. In that heartbreakingly practical way little kids sometimes do when the world disappoints them, but dinner still exists. Okay, she said. Is there food? Lots of food. Okay. Then she stood up, turned to Colin, and said, I found 9 rocks, but I think there are more. He caught my eye over her head. In his face was that steady kind of love that doesn't solve things, but makes surviving them easier. We went inside. The rehearsal dinner was set in the inn's main dining room, all cream linen and candles and low arrangements of garden flowers. About 30 people, all soft voices and wine glasses and pre-wedding warmth. My brother's side, Claire's side, the wedding party drifting between them. I saw Evan almost immediately. He was laughing at something near the head table, his arm around Claire's waist, looking like a brighter version of himself the way people always do right before weddings. He didn't see us walk in. Claire did. She was standing by the window with a champagne glass in her hand, and when she saw me, something crossed her face. Not shame, not even discomfort. More like irritation that a problem she believed had been handled was now standing in her dining room in a yellow dress with white daisies in her hair. A little girl I didn't recognize ran past us in a white dress with a pale pink sash and a wicker basket looped over her arm. Lily saw it too. She didn't say anything. She just looked at the basket, then at me, then back at the basket, and I watched her understand the rest of it without needing anyone to explain. She reached for my hand. I held it. Dinner moved the way these dinners do. Toasts, laughter, plates cleared and replaced, charming speeches, stories everyone had heard before but laughed at anyway. Claire's father spoke. Evan spoke. Claire made some polished little toast that landed exactly the way she intended. Lily ate her chicken, stole half of Colin's bread roll, and told an elderly couple at our table a very serious story about a frog she had once seen in our backyard. She never mentioned the flower basket. She didn't cry. She was 6 years old, and she was handling disappointment better than half the adults in that room. I was still holding myself together until I slipped away after the main course and went to the restroom. I stood at the sink with the water running and pressed my wet hands to my face. Not crying, just trying to spend 30 seconds somewhere I didn't have to keep looking fine. I had paid for the dress, driven to 3 stores before I found the right one, bought the barrettes, practiced the walk with her over and over in our hallway while she beamed at me like this mattered and she was going to do it well. 4 months of anticipation. And my brother had not called me. He had let my mother intercept me in a garden while my daughter counted rocks in a parking lot. I dried my hands, looked at myself in the mirror, and went back out. Halfway through the lobby, my phone vibrated. I assumed it was Colin checking on me. It was my father. My father did not text during family events. My father barely texted at all. I once watched him spend several minutes typing the word fine with one finger. The message said, "Come find me, East Porch, now." I stared at it, then turned and walked toward the porch. He was standing at the railing looking out over the lake, jacket on though it wasn't cold, the way men his age dress, for occasions like armor they don't name. When he heard the door, he turned. "Hi, Dad." "Hi." He studied my face for a moment. My father never rushes into words. He circles them first, makes sure they'll hold. "Your mother told me about the flower girl change," he said. "She told me in the garden before dinner. She also told me something else." I waited. Evan knew for at least 3 weeks. "And this afternoon he texted your mother and asked her to handle the conversation because," he paused, and I'm quoting him here, "she'll make it a whole thing and I can't deal with that right now." For a second, I couldn't even feel my hands. "He called me a thing," I said. "Yes, a thing he can't deal with." My father turned back toward the lake, both hands resting on the railing. "Your brother," he said slowly, "has had every benefit of every doubt for 30 years. Every time something was uncomfortable, someone else stepped in. Every time he dropped something, someone picked it up. I have been one of those people." The evening light was draining from the water, leaving everything dimmer and more honest. "I told myself that was parenting," he said, "making things easier. But tonight, your daughter is inside in a dress she was excited about for months, and another child has the basket, and my son thought the best way to handle that was to send your mother out to manage you." He looked at me then. "And I am done pretending that is acceptable." I didn't say anything. I couldn't. "There's something I wanted you to know before I say anything inside," he said. He reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone. 6 weeks ago, your grandmother's estate was settled. There was that piece of land in Vermont." I felt something move in my chest immediately. I knew the land. We had gone there in the summers when Evan and I were kids. A crooked dock, cold water, fireflies in the field, mason jars with holes punched in the lids. "She left it to me," he said. "I intended to divide it equally between you and your brother." I looked at him. "I changed the paperwork last week." The porch went very quiet. "This is not because of the flower girl issue alone," he said. "I want to be clear about that. This is because of a pattern I have watched for years and failed to name. Tonight simply made it impossible for me to keep avoiding it." He slid the phone back into his pocket. "The land goes to you." I just stood there staring at him while the sounds of the rehearsal dinner carried faintly through the wall behind us. I didn't feel triumphant or relieved or even shocked in the clean way people describe shock. It was messier than that. Something between grief and recognition and the strange ache of being seen too late. Then he reached into his pocket again and brought out a small, dark velvet pouch. He handed it to me. I loosened the drawstring and tipped the contents into my palm. A gold bracelet, thin chain, small oval locket. My grandmother's. I knew it instantly. My voice came out almost soundless. "How do you have this?" He answered quietly. "Your mother gave it to Claire 3 months ago as a welcome to the family gift. Said your grandmother would have wanted her to have it." I looked up so fast it made me dizzy. "She did what?" "I found out by accident last week. I told Claire the bracelet had been given in error, that it had a designated recipient, and that my wife had no authority to give it away. To her credit, Claire returned it." I curled my fingers around the bracelet so tightly the edges pressed into my palm. My grandmother had worn that bracelet every day for as long as I could remember. When I was little, I thought the locket held a picture. When I got older, she showed me it was a folded piece of paper with a verse written in her own hand. My father watched my face and said, softer now, "I'm sorry." Something in my voice broke without my permission. "Dad." "I know." He put a hand on my shoulder, steady and warm and unmistakably there. Then he said, "I'm going back inside to say something." "You don't have to." "I know." He met my eyes. "But I'm going to." I thought about Lily at the table telling strangers about a frog, about the scuff mark on the baseboard from all those practice walks, about my mother asking me not to bring her in yet, as if my child's disappointment needed to be staged properly. "Okay," I said. My father opened the porch door, and I followed him inside. The room was between courses, full of low conversation and candlelight and the soft clink of glasses. My father moved toward the head of the table where Evan and Claire were seated and simply stopped there. He didn't tap a glass. He didn't raise his voice. He just stood still until the nearest conversations faltered. Then the next, until the whole room went quiet in widening circles. Evan looked up first. His expression changed when he saw me standing behind our father. Not guilt, calculation. "Dad?" he said. My father's voice, when he spoke, was calm. "I'd like to say something, and I'm saying it here because this family has developed a bad habit of keeping important truths private so they can be managed. I'm no longer interested in that." Claire slowly set down her champagne glass. "My daughter drove here tonight with her child," my father said. "That child wore a dress she had been excited about for months because she believed she was going to be part of her uncle's wedding. They arrived, and before they were even allowed through the front door, my daughter was taken aside and told that role had been given away without warning. You could feel the room listening harder. No one called her, no one prepared her, because my son asked his mother to handle it for him rather than deal with the discomfort himself. The silence in that room became almost physical. "I love my son," my father said. "I want this weekend to be meaningful for him. But I am saying this here in front of both families because what happened was wrong. My granddaughter deserved better." My daughter deserved better. Lily is Evan's family, and a child should not have to learn she has been replaced by noticing another girl already holding the basket. No one moved. My father looked directly at Evan. "I have spent many years waiting for a more convenient time to say true things. I am tired of doing that, so I am saying this now. What was done to your sister tonight was unkind. What was done to your niece was worse." Then, after a beat that seemed to last forever, he said, "I love you. That is why I'm saying it." And he stepped back. For one suspended second, the whole room held still. Then sound began returning, the way water settles after something heavy is dropped into it. My mother appeared at his side almost immediately, voice low and tight. This was not the time. My father answered without looking at her. That has always been the excuse. Then he walked away from her and came to stand beside me. His face looked exhausted and lighter. "Thank you," I said. "Long overdue," he said. A moment later, Colin appeared with Lily on his hip. She had her arms around his neck and was watching my father with solemn curiosity. "Grandpa said something," she observed. "He did," Colin said. "Was it a toast?" My father held out his arms and Lily went to him instantly, with the total trust she has always given him. He settled her against his shoulder, one hand at her back, one at the back of her head. "I like your barrettes," he told her. "They're daisies," she said. "I know. Your great-grandmother used to grow them." Lily leaned back to look at him. "I have a flower basket at home," she said gravely. "I practiced." "I heard that," he said. "I heard you were excellent." "I was," she said. He laughed softly. "I believe it." Colin found my hand and held it. Evan came to me before dessert. No audience, no performance, just my brother, standing in front of me looking more like himself than he had all evening. "I should have called you," he said. "The day it changed. I should have called and I didn't. I'm sorry." I looked at him for a long moment. My younger brother, the one everyone always said was more sensitive, more easily overwhelmed, the one the family had rearranged itself around for years without ever admitting that's what we were doing. "Yeah," I said, "you should have." He looked across the room at Lily, who was back in her chair eating a dinner roll with perfect concentration. "Is she okay?" "She's 6, I said. "She handled it better than most adults here." He flinched a little. "I want to fix it," he said. "For the ceremony, I can talk to Claire. Maybe Lily can walk at the start with the bridal party, if she wants to." I held his gaze. "If you offer her something, make sure it actually happens. Don't promise her a second thing you can't follow through on." He nodded. "I will." Then he went back across the room. We left before the dancing started. Lily had reached that soft, sleepy state children get into after too much emotion and too much pasta. Colin buckled her into her car seat while I said goodbye to my father in the front hall. He hugged me, which he does rarely enough that I still notice every time. This one lasted longer than usual. "I'll call this week," he said. "I'll answer." He smiled, small, tired, real. On the drive home, Lily fell asleep within 15 minutes, her head tipped at an angle that looked impossible and yet somehow comfortable to her. Colin drove. I sat in the passenger seat with the velvet pouch in my lap, my fingers resting over the bracelet through the fabric. "Long night," he said. "Very." He was quiet a minute. "Your dad did a good thing." "Yeah," I said. "He did." "You okay?" I looked out at the dark road unspooling in front of us. Thought about my father standing there until the room went quiet. Thought about Lily patting his shoulder. Thought about Vermont summers and fireflies and the years before everything got managed into silence. "I think I will be," I said. He reached over and took my hand. 2 weeks later, on an ordinary Tuesday morning, I put the bracelet on for the first time. No occasion, no announcement. Just cereal on the table, sunlight coming through the kitchen window, Lily in her pajamas swinging her legs under the chair. She looked up from her bowl, pointed her spoon at my wrist and said, "Pretty." "It was your great-grandmother's," I told her. She considered that with deep seriousness, nodded once, and went back to breakfast. Evan did come through for Lily in the end. At the ceremony, the coordinator brought her up to walk at the start of the processional, holding a single white peony with a ribbon tied around the stem to match her dress. Claire had chosen it herself, which I appreciated without pretending it erased anything. It wasn't the basket. It wasn't 4 months of practice. But Lily held that flower like it was the most important thing in the building and walked slowly and carefully and exactly right. And when she reached the front and found us in the 3rd row, her face opened into the brightest, simplest smile I had ever seen. My father clapped, not politely, proudly. After the wedding, Evan and I started trying in earnest. The first real phone call came 3 weeks later. It was awkward in places, honest in others, longer than our calls had been in years. We are not magically transformed into the siblings we should have been all along. But we are at least 2 adults trying to speak plainly now, which is more than we had before. My mother is harder. She still believes she handled the situation correctly. I don't think that belief is ever going to disappear completely. What we have now is a workable version of family peace. Sunday dinners that remain standing as long as no one leans too hard on the cracks. It is not ideal. It is simply true. My father calls every Thursday a little after 6. He and Lily have an ongoing conversation about a cardinal that visits his backyard feeder. She named it Franklin. He sends her pictures. Last week, he photocopied a page from a bird book and mailed it to her in an envelope with her name written across the front. She keeps it on her nightstand. Most mornings now, I put the bracelet on without thinking. Sometimes Lily asks to see inside the locket, and I open it for her and unfold the tiny slip of paper with the verse written in my grandmother's hand. She doesn't fully understand the words yet, but she listens like she does. And for right now, that is enough. More than enough.